Well, we were lucky getting news from all sides at Macalester. CBS, for example, didn't tell the whole story. Okay, and they were getting canned news from Vietnam, and that was propaganda. Okay, but yeah, do we believe Walter Cronkite? Always, right?
I think that most of us suspected we were not getting the truth. We were not getting the whole story. But I don't believe we knew until much later the extent of the deception and the intentionality of it. It wasn't just that our leaders had bad information, they had accurate information and they gave us other information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just slightly aside, my assignment to Lodge's Air Force Base in the Azores, we got no news about race riots or the cities burning. The Stars and Stripes had nothing about the turmoil going on back in the U.S. And likewise, the wars in Africa. We knew about that from people who were returning from Africa. It was not in the news.
I reflect often. I grew up in Minnesota, and I went on a civil rights tour in 2014, led by Julian Bond, and we went to many of the important places. And I kept thinking back on how much did I remember, how much did I know? And I lived in Minnesota. We were the North. We kind of pretended we didn't have these issues, and so it was something going on in the South, but it wasn't necessarily relevant. Moreover, reporting was not then what it is now in terms of the depth and the willingness to expose things. So I was not as involved as I wished I had been in retrospect. And on the other hand, I don't think I was quite as intentionally oblivious as it might seem, because I think there was a dearth of information.
The Tet Offensive on January 31st and then early February was really, I think, a turning point for the United States people to start understanding the extent of the fact that we weren't winning, despite body counts that were, as you say, false, inflated, and all those sorts of things. That's when Walter Cronkite said, we're in a stalemate. And then when Lyndon Johnson knew that this was not viable anymore. And so he backed out, and on we went. But I think those events in early 1968 were critical to what you're saying.
I do think there are some very vivid images that stick in our minds. One of them was the Vietnamese going up on the roof to be evacuated when the city was falling. And the other was that photo of the young girl who was burned with napalm. And I think to myself now, I don't know if the press would print that, because we're so concerned about pornography and inappropriate things, but that was a riveting photo.
Or of the Vietnamese, I think he was a general, shooting the Viet Cong man right in the head.
He's
and
kneeling.
The photographer just catching that right at the moment.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got into My Lai, where the whole villages were massacred, everybody. And then when the media started reporting all those terrible things, that was telling and turning.
Yeah. I have to say that my memory is colored now by the Ken Burns PBS documentary, because I learned so much more, and also from a neighbor in northeast Minnesota who was there as a medic out in the field, and still is suffering from Agent Orange and completely disabled from his experience there. So yeah, memory is colored by what we're learning now.